Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
welcome.
That's the that's the theme tune to Jay and Stu. That is now the theme tune to Jay and Stu talk about Doctor Who.
I
Dum,
will.
dum, dum,
I
dum.
will get the. I'll get the MP3, and I will play that at the start of every. Oh no, we could just. You know what? We could do a live performance at the start of every episode.
Yeah, okay, okay, because otherwise we need a clean version. Okay, we've got the lyrics up. Dum, 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 dum.
Ooh, no. Right. So we're gonna talk about the Halloween apocalypse now. Stu. You've seen that, haven't you?
I think.
I've seen it twice.
Have you? Was it more coherent the first time or the second time?
It felt more coherent the first time, honestly. The second time, I was like just ready for the fact that none of it was going to be coherent, so was consciously aware of like, right, this is just nothing, and this goes nowhere, and like, the first time you watch the scene that is currently on the screen with these two men from Liverpool in the 1800s, these guys show up, right? Just for anyone who hasn't seen this, at the beginning of the episode, there's a scene where these two guys just have a chat in 1800s Liverpool, and the whole scene is like this guy going, "Something's gonna happen," and I'm digging some tunnels, and the other guy's going, "Your tunnels, they have no purpose," and the first guy goes, "They do have purpose," and like that's the whole scene.
Okay, okay, you've got your microphone's gone all Dalecified there, so I don't know if people heard that.
I hope they did.
I didn't. I didn't. Yeah, it's just a couple of random blokes talking about something completely weird and random and ominous.
It's that they're digging.
It's
It's that
like the
one of them is
Brendan
digging
stuff
holes.
from.
It is a bit like the Brendan stuff, but it's
It's just
like
sort of like start. It's just sort of like start the scene in a random location with random characters doing something because reasons.
absolutely, it is just, and then it doesn't come up for the entire episode, which I would be fine with if that couldn't describe like 50% of the
Okay.
runtime, right? Are you struggling to hear me? Is that what's
Okay.
happening at the moment?
Yeah, I am struggling to hear you. That's what's happening. Is there anything you can do?
I don't
Chat, tell
know.
us if you can hear everything.
I'm gonna change
Write
the
some
region on
things.
Discord. Has this helped? Oh,
Chat box.
hello. Has that helped?
Yeah, I can hear you. The chat is saying it's buffering, lag, not yet, Jay, lag,
Oh, let me see
lag,
if I
lag,
can
lag.
solve. Let me see if I can solve the lag. Welcome. It's a me stream. Right. Let's. Oh, it's no. I can't solve the lag. I don't know what to do about that. Fucking hell.
Okay, well I can hear you now. So
Quite possibly my internet connection has just died. That's nice. Um. Yay. Hopefully it'll fix. I don't know what to do about that because I'm currently streaming at like my minimum quality.
oh dear.
Mm.
Well, we've come full circle. My stream was shit on the Timeless Children video.
Well, it was fine. It was fine.
My end was completely falling apart on the Timeless Children video. That and I had COVID. Oh, buffering stopped apparently.
That I mean, that's one person in the chat saying it.
One
But
person in the chat saying it, so it might not.
I mean, the fact that we're
Uh,
having a conversation and it seems to be working means that you can probably hear me, right?
yeah, I can hear you, so that's good. Yeah, sounds good. It seems good now. It might be better now. Uh, where's get a hammer and hit the computer? Crunchy J. Seems better now. Capitalism is based. Um,
All right. All right.
okay, okay. I'm gonna stop reading the chat now. Okay. So yeah, the people with sideburns.
Yeah, the
Who are
people with
they? What are they?
sideburns. So the episode begins by letting us know that one of them is digging some holes, and that's a thing that he is up to. Apparently, YouTube is currently receiving no stream data at all, which is great. But let's just go on. Let's just go on because you know what? We're recording this, and the worst thing that could possibly happen is that it appears on my channel, on my second channel later. Oh well.
Uh,
And now it's
Oh,
apparently
well.
fine. Okay. Okay, YouTube.
Crunchy J. I'm just reading chat.
So,
Crunchy J.
attempt 3.
Okay.
These men are
Attempt.
digging a fucking hole. And it's very important that that's established before anything else in the series, is that these men, who by the way, we're 3 episodes in now, have not been that relevant since. They've had like 2 scenes, neither of which explain anything else, are digging a fucking hole, and that's important.
Hello, I'm a man with sideburns and I dig a hole.
Yeah, and it's really, do you know what, like,
That's the sum total of what we've
Yeah.
learned about these people.
and you know, I don't feel that the dialogue is like this on purpose, but I really like that it's just kind of, it's very over the top dialogue. One of them looks at the other and goes, "These holes, they are without purpose or sense." And the other guy goes, "They actually have glorious purpose and sense." And you're just like, I love how these two talk, but it's so fucking stupid.
It is the Brendan thing. It just shows up somewhere with some characters doing something, and it just expects you to take that. And
Yeah.
inspire myself. I just went fine.
And here's the thing, I would be absolutely fine with an episode that has like something that, especially part 1 of a 6-part story, shows something earlier than it is relevant, so that it can, come back to it later. But when that description fits like 50% of what the runtime is used for, you're pushing it. That's my takeaway from this episode. Because, this episode is just crammed full of random stuff, like 2 guys talking about the fact that one of them is digging strange holes. So, okay, right. We have the actual opening scene. We have the the actual opening scene, right? Which is bad.
Where it starts with them like, are they hanging over a pit of something? Or you see this is the problem with the Halloween Apocalypse. It's so crammed full of stuff. There's like 1,000 images just sort of thrown together in this big collage.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, I could barely remember a single thing that happened in it.
Honestly, it's an episode that I think would be better suited as a collection of short stories, because that's what it is. But it's also trying to have a structure and a narrative, but it can't, because it's actually just a series of short stories which the episode decides to randomly cut through the course of the runtime. Like, if I go to a random timestamp, I'm wondering, will it be the episode's main plot, or will it be something random ass that just happens? Right? Let's go here. That's the main plot. All right, let's do another one. That's just a throwaway joke that doesn't really have much. I guess you could call this the episode's main plot as well. That's something completely random that happens. That's something basically random that happens. That's Yaz. I'm not,
It's pretty.
Well,
I'll give it that. I watched this while I was eating donuts on the sofa when I was very tired, and it's like, because this is the thing. I think I've just got to accept by this point that I'm ultimately done with my obsessive complaining about every single tiny little thing that happens stage in my Doctor Who fandom. I'm in my 30s now. I'm tired. I just want to see some pretty lights and colours.
I mean, the green screen isn't great.
Not
and
great,
a lot of there's a lot of continuity mistakes.
It's like it had John Bishop in it, and he said some stupid stuff, and there was a talking dog or something, and it's sort of like, okay, fine, I'll throw it on at the end of my working day. I stopped caring.
So, like, I mean, the first scene, the opening scene, basically tells you don't need to care about any of this, because it's as ridiculous as possible, and basically just establishes there are no stakes to any of this danger, because it puts the Doctor and Yaz in the most ridiculous possible situation from which there is clearly no escape, and has them escape in the most absurd way possible, as neither of them take the notion that they are nearing certain death even remotely seriously. They're just whizzing through the sky, going, whoa, and you're like, you guys are I mean, if that's the tone you want to take, then sure, but this is just, hey, don't care about the fact that these characters are in danger ever, because they don't care, and neither should you, and we can just solve it with random bullshit.
Because it starts mid-story. It starts mid-adventure.
Yeah.
And you don't care. You don't really care about it. It's like I think you messaged me on Twitter because I didn't watch it until like a week later. You messaged me on Twitter and said it's like a 50-minute long trailer.
It is.
And then when I was watching it, the main thing that it reminded me of was the beginning of Pond Life, where there's just sort of that. You remember in Pond Life where there's
I'm gonna level with this, Stu. The only thing I remember about Pond Life is the bit where there was an ood on the toilet.
Oh yeah, that was funny. But yeah, in Pond Life, it's like the Doctor calls Amy and Rory and tells them about all the adventures that he's having, which you don't care about, and it's just like a little special effect, like the Doctor goes on a surfboard over some lava or something.
Yeah, and this was one of those. Yeah,
and it's like that's fine for a mini-sode. It's sort of like this is the sort of thing that happens on this show, but it's the show. It's the actual show.
So it is. I mean, it's opening in the middle of the action, and I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with how they do it, which is, hey, you don't need to give a shit about any of this because the characters don't care, and we're going to solve it with random nonsense. It's like, what do they solve this with? The thing that they're being suspended on breaks, and then just randomly flies them around until they land over the TARDIS, which is there, and they drop into the TARDIS. And
they just happen to fall into the TARDIS onto a bed.
And there's a bed in there, so apparently this was their plan all along, I guess. And also, my favorite part about this is just the mechanics of it. Is like they both drop neither of them fall from above the TARDIS, but they both glide towards the TARDIS, like it's pulling them in. It's like, this is fine. Oh, yeah, you can see that there. I'm not gonna play it for too long because I don't want to get the stream taken down, but it's very silly and it establishes a tone of, well, if you're gonna be invested in this, it better not be for the stakes or the danger or anything, because those don't exist here.
Yeah, it's like that. This scene didn't really serve any purpose at all.
Well, it does establish Carvanista. That's all right.
It establishes Carvanista and the fact that we're mid-story and the Doctor and Yaz are interested in Carvanista for
if
reasons.
we were going to cut scenes from this story, this would not be where I started. I would start with the Sontaran scene, which absolutely doesn't need to be there at all. Do you remember the Sontarans are in this episode, Stuart?
Yeah, they are in this episode, yeah. And like I said earlier, it's like a collage of like different scenes just sort of smashed together. And people were saying when this thing first came out, because lots of people like yourself were complaining about it being basically a trailer. Its purpose is people were saying, oh, they're setting everything up and saving it for later. It's just the opening of a story. But they're just saying, look, these are the things that are going to be in this episode. They're not doing anything with them.
Yeah, except for Carvanista. Like Carvanista has like a 20-minute romp that is, and then there's the rest of the episode, which is just things and stuff, and a voiceover saying, "Pay attention for this later in the series."
And yeah, and then the Sontarans show up at the end of the episode, and it's just like and there's a weeping angel in it, and there's these weird disc things, and there's a talking dog something,
and there's
John Bishop
the Swarm arrives as well.
The Swarm arrives.
I don't remember the name. It was like this. One of them is called Swarm, and the other one's called like Areola or some shit. I don't remember her name. And
then the Sontarans literally just sort of step into the scene at the end of the episode and go, and we're also here.
They do that. And one of them just goes, "You look disgusting," and that's it. And you could cut this scene out with actually, I think, a positive effect, not just for this episode, but also the next one, which actually reveals the Sontarans. Like, they're clearly fucking working their way up to a reveal at the start of episode 2, where they don't say the word Sontarans for a while, and then one arrives on a horse, and someone says, the Sontarans, and you're supposed to be like, I'm like, yeah, I remember that cameo from last week. Yes!
And they do this with the Daleks though. They reveal the Daleks in episode 3, but they weren't in the Halloween apocalypse. They weren't set up.
My guess is that that's just them fulfilling their Dalek quota for the year. Like, as in the thing that probably does exist.
They just glide across the screen and do. And we are also here.
And one of them has this is the CGI model is off model again, but in a different way to they were in the last story. There are excuses for this in the 60s. There are not now. Dalek shouldn't be off model. Anyway.
And see, that's the thing. I keep on making this point. To people at the moment. The show, Flux. The thing about Flux is it's very insular. Only fans are going to be able to follow something like this. So why the fuck is everyone so obsessed with the viewing figures?
I don't give a shit about the viewing figures myself. I think that people just want to prove that it's not doing very well, or that it is doing very well, and actually the people who say it isn't doing very well need to shut up.
One or the other. But the point is, this is very niche. Like Russell made it this very accessible populist fantasy drama, and what he did, like Rose, it opens with Rose is the main character. We see her day as she wanders through London, going about her business while weird stuff happens around her. She runs into the Doctor. The Doctor starts to explain all of this mad space bollocks. In Flux episode 1, we start with random space bollocks that we don't have any kind of like hook to get us into. We start with the Doctor.
I would argue that the space bollocks actually tries to persuade us not to be invested in it.
Well, yeah, but so we start with all the space bollocks that no one could possibly get invested in or care about. There's another couple of scenes, and then we get to John Bishop's character, who should have been the main character in the Halloween apocalypse.
Yeah,
going about his day.
Or he should have been cut out of the story because he's really not done anything for Flux yet that he couldn't have been replaced with someone else for.
Not yet. But my point is that he's a fish out of water character that the audience can relate to.
Yeah.
So if you wanted this to be a big, accessible, populist drama like Russell did with Rose back in the day, you start the episode on John Bishop's character. He's this eccentric, lovable kook going about his day. Weird stuff is sort of building and happening in the background. He gets kidnapped by Carvanista. He runs into the Doctor and Yaz, who are talking about all this mad space bollocks. You see, you got a fish out of water audience avatar to get people to relate to the drama that's happening on screen. But instead, Flux is this very insular, fans will understand this.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be to tell the story that it's telling. That's the annoying thing, is that it's just made inaccessible by virtue of the way it's presented to an audience. Like, I could redraft this to make it more accessible to people.
In this scattershot collage.
Yeah, because if
you had a story that went from if you had a story that went from A to B to C to D to E, then people would then people would be fine. People would be fine to it. I mean, when I've made this point on Twitter before, people have brought up that sitcoms have A stories and B stories running concurrently.
Yeah, and this has an F story.
Yeah, this is an F story. But sitcoms have like simple stories of like characters A and B are arguing with each other while characters B, C, and D are also like planning a party or something. This is like big, massive, earth-shattering sci-fi ideas just smashed together.
Yeah, so like lots of small things being lots of small stories that have big concepts in the same episode isn't undoable. Like Rick and Morty did that all the time. But they still had like a coherent structure. This just doesn't. This is just like, hey, another thing, as well. Okay, you were saying as well, Dan being a fish out of water character. Alternatively, you still have stuff like Star Wars, which has no POV character for the audience. In terms of at least no fish out of water POV character to the audience, no character who everything needs to be explained to because they're new to the Star Wars world. But like, you can still get it because the characters' goals are made clear by what they do and what they say, and you could still have that with the Doctor and Yaz. You know, these two adventurers could be very well characterized.
That is true. I mean, I was just hooking in the thing that I highlighted in this episode immediately, which I thought that has potential to get the audience actually invested in it again.
Yeah. Yeah, but if
I
I
like
if I
that.
was redrafting this, I would start with Dan being kidnapped by Carvanista, and then have Holzman probably wouldn't even show up in this episode.
Oh,
Um,
definitely not.
the Sontarans definitely wouldn't. The Weeping Angel definitely wouldn't. And you know what? Maybe the Swarm are supposed to have them as a B story, but maybe you introduce them as well in part two. And here's the thing as well: War of the Sontarans. It's a detour. We can't pretend it's not a detour. Like, you could, if you made Carvanista episode 1 and the Swarm episode 2, you already have a much more coherently structured, like, series of television. Maybe this has only happened because they got cut down on the number of episodes they were able to make for COVID. And my argument there would be, okay, so cut out the fluff. Don't cram everything closer together so that you can keep the fluff that doesn't need to be there. Stuart, are you alive?
What?
Hello. Are you alive?
Yes, I am alive. I'm just trying to remember what the flux even is at this point.
The flux is a big space fart that eats the planets.
It's just sort of like, okay, this is supposed to be one big overarching 6 week long story,
Yeah.
right? That's what it was that's what it was sold as. Okay. Summarize in one sentence what Flux is about.
Um. This is cruel.
I know, right?
I think as well. It looks like next week's episode, which is the Weeping Angel one, is going to be a detour as well from the main story. It's not. It doesn't look like it's going to be a 6-part serial. It looks like it's going to be maybe a 4 or even 3-part serial that has 2 or 3 random detours in it.
Yeah, like I went into this expecting like one big story.
Yeah. And the Sontaran stuff literally is the Sontarans were around while all of this is happening, so also we have to deal with them. That's the full extent of their involvement in the story, is also they're here, so we have to deal with them as well now. And then they deal with them in episode 2, and then they're gone, as far as we can tell. Maybe they'll come back again, maybe they won't. Who knows? They probably won't, though, as far as I can, because that seems to make, I don't want to try and apply what makes sense structurally to this story, but that doesn't make most sense structurally.
I'm trying to figure out how this happened. Like did this originally start out as a normal like 10 episode series where like there's a Centauran episode, there's a Weeping Angel episode, there's a Blue Skullman episodes,
Yeah, I
and then when it
imagine.
got then when it got cut down to 6, they're like, okay, let's sort of chuck in a framing device and call it a serial.
I imagine that there was at least some degree of that. So yeah, what we
No,
have.
because that would make sense. It doesn't feel like there was a goal for this,
So we get
like an
introduced
actual
to
goal that set out with.
Dan, right? That's a goal. We get introduced to Dan. He's here. Not
That,
sure.
that, that's a goal. That's a goal. Stunt casting, John Bishop.
Yeah,
Which I like. I like this. I'm not a big fan of John Bishop, but I like this a lot. Actually, I was really impressed by him.
by his performances.
I just find him. I just find his presence in this story funny,
It is
and
funny.
I like.
It's just that's all he is, though. He's a funny man. He's like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, I can't. It's like with Bradley Walsh's Graham. I can't tell whether it's just him being entertaining to watch or whether there's anything going on that I'm actually finding
Well,
enjoyable. Just
Dan's
like this,
character. Sorry, go on.
just my favorite bit of this so far. Dan is the only reason that I'm still watching it. All right, my favorite bit of this so far was when his house got shrunk down to it's tiny.
Or his reaction to his house
There's
being
this
shrunk
bit.
down by an alien is him going, "How could I fit in there now?" That's
I
what he
can't. Yeah,
says.
he just looks at the doctor and goes, "I can't live in that."
It's,
I'm just.
and it's like, yeah, those are what his reactions are. And it's like,
Really,
here's the thing: if he was the only character, sorry,
really made me laugh.
yeah, if he was the only character that Chibnall had written like this, I would assume that it was intentional, that he was going for a thing here, that this is the oblivious, underreacts to everything character, which, to be fair, I would quite enjoy. But every Chibnall fucking character is like this. Every Chibnall character has had their moment where like their house gets shrunk by aliens, and they something like, "How am I supposed to fit in there now?" And so I don't feel that this is intentional. Like, I don't get the sense that this is a fully formed character, because all he is a funny man who underreacts to everything.
I mean, I'm finding him entertaining.
He is certainly entertaining.
That's the only point. That's the only point that I'm making, because it's like, okay. I should have made this point. I should have made this point earlier. Okay, the only reason that I'm still bothering to watch the Chibnall era, even though because I've made it perfectly clear that I haven't really been enjoying it that much. I don't really want to be the sort of person who will just continue to watch the show to complain about it. Even though, yeah, I know my channel, Doctor Who. That's the only reason that people watch me. They want to hear me talk about Doctor Who. But it's
Linked
like,
in the description.
I was close. I was close to just calling time and just not bothering to watch it, but there's something about Dan being in this story underreacting to things and me finding it funny that means I'm still watching it.
He is very funny. The thing is,
Dan
I find... Sorry, Carvanista?
Dan Carvanista's quite entertaining to look at.
He's a dog man.
He's a dog man.
The thing is, if I was writing a character like Dan in a series, I would want to have a focal episode on him relatively early on that explores the fact that he's quite vacuous and underreacts to everything and just sort of very happy-go-lucky even in like the most dangerous of situations. Because what we have here is a damaged person. I'm sorry, like, there's no way that someone who was fully healthy and like just fully, I guess, he's either damn, he's got something unusual about him, right? And whatever it is, whether it is some kind of actual, like, I don't know, issue, or something that we aren't gonna, like, isn't an issue but is still unusual about him, you know, those are the two categories. Whatever it is, I want to explore it.
You want to say brain damage, just say brain damage.
I don't want to say brain damage, but it could be brain damage. This man, right, his behavior would be explained by brain damage, but that's not the only thing that would explain his behavior, and I just want it to be any of those things. I just want him to be explored as a coherent character who doesn't react to things at all. Like, I love Neil from The Inbetweeners, and you know what? His reactions would be very similar to Dan's in this situation. But I understand who, like, Neil is as a person. I don't understand who Dan is as a person. He's just sort of vacuous and not there.
Halloween Apocalypse should have just been Dan's episode. It really should have.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not going to give him a focal episode in the series, then definitely. But even... So, okay, we get introduced to him. There's bad dialogue. We don't need to worry about that. And then suddenly it's the next plot thread, completely unrelated to either Holzman or Dan or Doctor and Yaz, really. Right?
Oh, there's Greenland people.
Greenland people? Oh no, that's the Arctic Circle, isn't it? Is Greenland in the Arctic Circle?
Is it?
That's not yet. We've not got to that yet. That's soon.
The Arctic. There were some people looking at a disc or something.
No, right. First, we've got the dodgy-looking people. I don't know if you saw that tweet. These are the dodgy-looking people. So we get this guy, this skull face man. He beams this just a vision of this into the Doctor's head, which is basically an excuse for us to show it on screen now. That's all it is. He's like, "Hey Doctor, what's up? Do you want to see what's going on with my life?" And you're just sort of like, all right, whoever you are, skull face man. I get the sense that Stu, have you listened to the Big Finish story, the end of the beginning?
No, I haven't.
It's one of my favorites.
Quite a lot of Big Finish I haven't listened to.
Just for it was the last of the main range. It was the last of the main range stories, and it's one of my favorites just because they have a certain character in it who I've just realized now I don't want to spoil, so I'm not going to. And the thing that I wanted to praise him for would be a spoiler. But like, what I will say is that this character is just sort of a cliche. He's dark, brooding. His face is a skull, and he kills people instantly, and he's a villain. It's like, is there anything making this man distinct from like Zemshar in series 11 that you could not?
When he killed that when he killed that lady, he absorbed their face.
I mean, in terms of character, chat. In terms of character, what distinguishes this guy from Zemshar, right? Because in terms of like superficial stuff, like he's got a skull for a face. He's got history with the Doctor. He's got he can evaporate people and teleport sometimes.
He doesn't have a big onion.
He doesn't have a big onion. I was really wondering where you were going when just before the word onion. I was like, Stuart, where were you going with this?
Instead, he has a big carrot.
And he doesn't glue teeth to his face.
He has a big carrot. Did you see that in the episode, Jay?
I didn't see that in the episode.
Yeah. Swarm flies around the universe with a big carrot.
He doesn't glue teeth to his face, but he does glue glitter to his face. I'm counting that. That's the same thing, as far as I'm concerned right now. And he just shows up for a scene like, "Hi, I'm in a prison, I guess, and I'm escaping now." And then you're like, "Okay, that's more information for me to absorb, I guess."
Well, it's because everyone wants to do the bad guy is imprisoned and is taunting his prisoners.
Yeah. And he has like several appearances in the episode. You know what, Stuart? I'm really distracted at the moment.
Things for reasons.
I'm really distracted at the moment by the fact I need a wee. So can you entertain my chat for like as the amount of time it takes me to wee? I've never timed it, but I'm gonna trust you with that.
Okay, fine, I will.
All right.
Okay, fine. What I will do is
I can't hear you now. I am going to be weeing shortly.
Okay. Okay. What I'm going to do, I've decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to educate Jay's audience during the periods in which Jay has to go to the toilet. So I will be reading Franz Kafka's The Metamorphosis. Yeah, buy the complete works of Kafka. I definitely recommend it. It's very strange. Hang on, where is The Metamorphosis? I'm skipping past the castle. Just read things. Reading things is good. Okay, right. Metamorphosis, the transformation of Gregor Samsa, chapter 1. One morning, Gregor Samsa woke in his bed from uneasy dreams and found he had been turned into a huge venomous insect. He lay on his hard shell-like back, and when he raised his head slightly, he saw his rounded brown underbelly divided into a series of curved ridges, on which the bedding could scarcely stay in place, and was about to slip off completely. His numerous legs, which were pitifully thin relative to the rest of his body, wriggled helplessly in front of his eyes. "What has happened to me?" he thought. It was not a dream. His room, quite adequate for one person, though rather too small, was there as usual, with its familiar four walls. Spread out on the table was a collection of samples of material he had unpacked. Samsa was a travelling salesman, and above it hung the picture he had recently cut off out of an illustrated magazine and set in a handsome gilt frame. It showed a lady with a fur hat and wrap sitting upright and holding out towards the viewer
Hello.
a fur muff which covered the whole of her forearm. Yeah, basically I've decided to educate your audience, so I've started reading The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka in the periods in which you go to the toilet.
I doubt there's going to be that many.
Okay, well, I'm up to paragraph 2, so join us next time for the adventures turned into a giant cockroach. Next time that Jay goes to the toilet.
So
anyway,
yes, we have the swarm. The swarm breaks out of prison. He looks like this.
No speaking during education.
So yeah, we have the swarm.
Chat is just saying this is ASMR.
It's beautiful. I mean, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I came back and I just listened for a while. I was sat here in complete silence, just sort of listening to what you were doing and being a bit confused.
I tried to doing when you just come back and hear me reading the Metamorphosis. Anyway, Doctor Who is a very educational show. There to teach children.
So we've got Glittery Skull Man. He's introduced in a scene where he breaks out of prison and there are Time Lords keeping him prisoner, right? Very clearly establishing that, you know, he's involved with that stuff. Then we have... This is just such a fucking Chibnall trope, right? We cut to the Arctic Circle. Cool.
It's like, what?
Okay, we're in the Arctic Circle now. People who haven't seen this episode, who are just listening to the stream because it's something to do, how well are you following along? We're in the Arctic Circle now, so the Doctor and Yaz, they're around flying and escaping a trap. There's a man called Dan. There's a man in the 1800s digging holes. There's a skull, glittery skull man has escaped from prison, and also now we're in the Arctic Circle. Hello. So we arrive at the Arctic Circle.
I come back to what I said earlier. Summarize in one sentence what Flux is about.
Exactly. Can it be a run-on sentence? Is that allowed?
No, in one sentence of like 10 words.
That'll just be a list. That'll be a list of the 10 most relevant things. Anyway, so we've got this Arctic Circle, this normal, clearly British house with normal plants outside the fucking window that you can see, but oh well, let's not draw attention to that right now. And a pitchfork, which I'm sure is very useful in the tundra. I don't know, maybe it is, I don't live there. But these two are here. It's just this couple who live in the Arctic Circle. And then we cut away from them again. I forgot about that. I forgot their story is split into 2 parts. Let me just find the rest of the story, because I'm trying to do this in the way that makes most narrative sense, which means avoiding like half of the episode when it's actually comes up, and just talking about the bits that are currently relevant to Skullface, Glittery Skullface Man. That's what I'm looking for in the episode right now, is just Glittery Skullface Man's bits.
We go back to the disc
so
thing, because
in between,
as I said, there was so much stuff that happened in this episode I could barely remember it by the end of it.
In between the Arctic Circle bits, we have a Weeping Angel and Vinda. He shows up, and we have then the end of the Arctic Circle bit is Glitter Skull Face Man shows up in the normal suburban house in the Arctic Circle. He evaporates one of the people living there, and he the other person living there is actually another glittery skull faced person who was in disguise as this lady for unclear reasons, and she doesn't even know that she's in disguise, but he vloops her, and then she becomes the glittery skull lady, and now there's 2 glittery skull people, I guess. And you're just like, okay, cool.
What are the glittery skull people gonna do now?
And then the glittery skull people have a conversation with the Doctor, I think. There's the Sontarans, that's a thing. Then towards the end of the episode, one of the skull-faced people is like, hey Doctor, we've had lots of battles before and we're about to have one again. And they have a little chat like that. Like, let's see what the dialogue is here that I'm on this scene that you won't be able to hear, but I'll let you know.
Any corner of you that remembers.
Yeah, he's like, we fought a lot, but we don't remember before, making it pretty clear that they fought when, how last series had an arc about there being a load of her life that she doesn't remember. It's probably going to be taking place in that part of her life, I would imagine. Kind of a thing.
I've got to say, I enjoyed watching that glittery stuff coming off her face that you just played on the stream.
Yeah,
there. It was
very
pretty. Again, it's very pretty, and it's a good thing to have on, when I'm tired after a day's work. I've been enjoying Flux. I don't know why.
I have been. It's been going in my brain, and I've not been bored. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, that's something.
So that's the Glittery Skull people's plot for this episode.
It's a better thing to say than most Chibnall episodes. Yeah, that's fair, isn't it?
is it? Is that true though? I think we just sort
It's
of
at least
used to it and
going
we're more
that way.
bemused now. Like, we're just sort of... I think if this was Chibnall's first series, we would be going, what the fuck is going on? I am not enjoying this.
Yeah, I don't know. I was mostly going to put it down to the fact that I'm old now.
I that's my reaction to that. I will let you know when I am 30 if I feel the same way.
Oh yeah, you will. Life will break you over the next 5 years, Jay.
I look forward to it. So yeah, Skull Man, he's around. It's like, okay, so we've now recited his full plot from the episode. Did that need to be there? Did it fuck? And like, you know what? Half of the scenes from it didn't need to be there either, right? Any of these scenes that you could cut, right? I wonder if you could cut any of these scenes. Scene where the villain escapes from prison. Scene where the villain rescues his accomplice. Scene where the villain messages the doctor on fucking Skype and is like, hey, I'm around. Hello. I wonder if you could maybe cut all of that and just introduce the villains when they become relevant to the story. Or, if you are going to insist on including this in this episode, you could have both Skull people break out of the prison at this, like, the same prison, and you don't need to have a detour to the Arctic Circle split over, like, 2 scenes over, like, 5 minutes of the episode. Stuart, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about Skullmen's plot?
What were the Arctic scenes even for? There's an alien in this called the Yupari.
Is there? Oh, the Lupari. The
Yeah, there
Lupari.
is. The Lupari, yeah, and like they're invading or they're not invading or
Yeah.
something.
That's the A story, really.
Just okay. Treat me like I'm a casual viewer here because, like,
Yeah, so like honestly, this series
if you try and explain any of this to anyone, it'll make their fucking head hurt.
this series is a series opener, which doesn't need to be confusing at all. Shot like it's a series finale, and it's showing everything that's culminated over the course of a season, when it's not. And it doesn't need any of this stuff here. And it could just be a story that introduces the characters and the world and the stakes. And it isn't. And instead, it's the most confusing mess that's almost designed to chase away new audiences. So
Well, I think they've just accepted that they're not going to get them at this stage.
why? Why accept that? Why not just write the story better and see what happens? There's also
Relax, Jay.
there's also a plot. This, by the way,
Relax, Jay.
has not come up again yet. We're 3 episodes in now. Has not come up again yet. The TARDIS is going all fucky and breaking, I guess, as well. There's goo everywhere.
Jay, it's all right.
It's not.
Drink. It's all right. It's all right. We've got nice little drink here.
I've finished my drink.
Watch it. Just watch.
I'll drink the goo, the TARDIS goo. I'll drink that.
Look at the golden faced man. With
His
sort of little
face
bits
is
of glitter
blue.
on his face. It's sort of and there's glitter coming off his face. And look, the TARDIS has got some like gooey black stuff all over the floor.
So
for
yeah,
some reason.
there's a subplot in this episode. Another subplot. Is anyone counting? Where the TARDIS, like, it's going bad. The TARDIS has gone off. Right?
This is like Doctor Who on shrooms.
Yeah, it's just the TARDIS has gone off and now it's falling to bits and there are doors everywhere. Sure. Which, there are a few scenes of this in the episode where like the TARDIS is misbehaving or like a bit of it turns into goo or the door breaks or something and you're like, oh, I guess the TARDIS is having a bit of a meltdown or something, and you're like, okay, sure. This also is in the episode. And it still hasn't come up again in episode 3. It's like, why bother establishing all of this stuff in episode 1, which is crammed to the fucking brim? when you're not gonna
Yeah.
use it even
Yeah,
soon.
that and as said, that and as said, if you deluge your audience with so many massive ideas and so many images like this, they're going to have completely forgotten at least half of it by the end of the episode. So if this whole TARDIS leaking thing does play big importance later, there's going to be no point. There was no point in putting it in episode 1 because I'm going to have forgotten it by episode 4
Exactly. Well, I don't even think it's going to come up in episode 4, to be honest. But that's my guess.
or 5 or 6 or 7.
But right, so we've got
How many subplots are there?
So, yeah.
There isn't one plot. It's all subplot.
it is all subplot. Like the plot with Carvanista, which does seem like it's the one that's given most time, still feels like a subplot because it doesn't have the majority of the episode's runtime. So right, we're back to Dan. This scene is fucking horrible, but it's like this is just a good example, I think, of the dialogue in this scene, in this story, in this run. Let's see if I can play it. Let's see how much of this I can do with playing. Right, right. That's enough for now. Hang on, let me. I'm looking for a specific. So basically, the dialogue for this whole scene is not good. It's not good in the episode, but this scene is a good example because there's just these lines that make me really go, yeah, this scene was not written like people speak. This scene was just like words were just put on the page, weren't they? Right? This scene was This scene was written to resemble other stories, not to be a scene of like characters talking to each other. Because, right, we've got Dan and this lady who works at the food bank, right? And they're talking, and Dan also works at the food bank, I think. And this lady is looking like out the door into the street, and like an alien drone flies past. And she looks at it and says, "What was that? I think I just saw something," right? And you know the kind of scene that this is, right? You know, you've seen scenes like this before where someone looks out the window and goes, "Oh my god, aliens!" And someone goes, "Oh yeah, sure, aliens, mate, all right." You know that kind of scene. There's loads of those in Doctor Who, aren't there, right? And likewise, you know, in this scene, Dan goes, "Have you been on the sherry?" But the words that she said were, "I think I just saw something." It's like, do you not believe that there is a world in which this woman could have seen something? Like, something? That's not possible. What the fuck are you talking about? Back me up here, please.
I don't know. Maybe she was just embarrassed.
What do you mean?
Thinking that she saw an alien.
Well, she never says alien. She says, "I think I've just seen something." And Dan is like, "Have you been on the sherry?" Because he doesn't believe that she could have seen.
Oh yeah, that's a point.
Something.
I didn't pick up on stuff like this because as said, I've been deluged with so many weird random images for most of the episode.
But it's how the dialogue in this story is written, is that the characters will just say stuff that sort of resembles cliches, and that's literally the dialogue. But it doesn't actually make sense in the in the flow of the narrative.
Maybe this woman is an alcoholic. Maybe she usually is on the sherry.
Right, so, yeah, Dan, he works at a food bank. He's a very selfless person. That's not come up again in episodes 2 or 3, I don't think.
Yeah, and especially in episode 3, where they get him to play a completely different character for several scenes.
Let's not get into that yet. I don't know what you're referencing, but... Oh, no, you mean literally a completely different character. Right, yeah. Most of the time when people say something like that, they mean just like he was out of character. But no, yeah, that literally does happen. He plays a different character.
Yeah, episode 3 isn't episode 3 basically them trying to do Zagreus?
I have not listened to Zagreus, but let's...
Oh, it's massive. It's massive, confusing, weird, and strange. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
So we've got we've got another of Dan's underreactions. It's Halloween, by the way. That's another thing that this episode is doing, is that this is taking place on Halloween. And he... Right, yeah. So this happens. So right, his door gets bashed in by an alien with an axe. Right? It's Halloween, so he assumes that this is someone in costume. Right? That's a fair assumption, right? You know, especially when it is an alien that's vaguely human proportioned, right? However, they did just slam through his door with an axe, and his reaction is just sort of like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
But that's what I like about Dan.
I mean, you know what? Like, I like this character, I do, but he's like, he needs to be explored to be coherent as a person, as a human being. Because I get this fucking sense this was an accident.
But it's just so stupid, right?
Like I just, I'm gonna play his reaction now for the stream. Let's see. Let's have a look at it.
Yes, gaze upon my might.
What is it with you lot tonight?
Oh, but
He says-
will they be able to hear you? I
He
know
says,
I can't, but...
he says, "What is it with you lot tonight?" You,
What?
well, he just got another weird trick or treater at his door, so you know he's like, "Oh, this must be another one of those weird trick or treaters."
I think he's just as in, you know, Halloween in general.
Yeah, breaking into my house. What is it with you lot tonight? First some guy comes to my door. He's not even dressed up, and now someone is barging into my house using an axe to chop down my back door. What's next?
Well, you know, maybe this sort of thing happens in Liverpool.
Don't know. I've never been. It's just-
Kneel before the might of the Lupin.
I am joking
You're paying
in
for
case
that, don't
any
you?
Liverpoolians want to sue me for that remark.
That's fair. Right, so Dan gets kidnapped by the dog alien. Dan gets kidnapped by the dog alien, and it's time to introduce another subplot, Stuart. Fuck you.
This episode
Fuck you,
didn't already
episode
have
structure.
had enough.
Fuck your ability to comprehend events that are happening.
Are we talking about Carvanista being the division?
No, that's not.
that
That
like
doesn't even come up yet.
Another one.
What happens
Oh,
now
that's
is that
that's another one.
a
We should have
woman.
been keeping a tally.
A woman approaches the Doctor and Yaz. Oh, sorry, that's not yet. Oh, right, yeah. First, we have this stupid scene where the Doctor and Yaz investigate their Dan's house, and they realize that the entire house is booby-trapped to randomly implode to kill them because Dan has a nice laptop. Do you remember that line?
That happened?
Yeah, so they find a laptop in Dan's house. They're like, so, Carvanista's after this guy? Why is he after this guy? It's a guy called Dan Lewis, right? Because at this point, Carvanista has kidnapped Dan Lewis. And they're like, right, let's do some scanning. And the Doctor takes like a laptop off his side and opens it up and like sonics it. And it's like, now I've given it the ability to scan for alien ships, right? Just to be clear, a few people have argued the thing that she's referencing when she says that the laptop is too nice is that it can scan for alien ships, right? If that is the case, she probably should have noticed that sooner. And she probably shouldn't have opened up a laptop going, I assume that this human laptop can scan for alien ships, because that's a hell of a coincidence if that was the case. Is that the one time she forgot that normal human laptops couldn't scan for alien ships is the time that she forgot and she did that, and that she randomly encountered a laptop that could do that. I'm confused. Anyway, the laptop.
I hear that these humans have this laptop called Alienware, and it's run by aliens.
So she scans the ships and she locates 7 billion ships on their way to Earth, which is cool. And also then she realizes, hang on, but if
were the Lupari the disc things that the people in the Arctic Circle were looking at?
no, that was something to do with the skull glitter people.
Oh, that was something to do with the
I
Skull
think.
people. Oh, right.
Um, so we've got a
It's Doctor Who on shrooms.
so yeah, we've got a laptop, and then at the same time, and then they realize like, oh, if Dan is poor, so if he's poor, why has he got such a nice laptop? And then Yaz and the Doctor both look at each other and they go, because it's not really his. And then they both run out of the house just as it fucking implodes. Like, I think you could have done some more legwork to earn that scene, personally. It's like, hey, can you think of any other reason that a man who can't afford food would have a laptop that's a bit nice? Like, a nicer
Because
than
he's
average
cheating.
laptop? Like, what if
Because
it's
he's cheating benefits. Because he's cheating benefits, Jay. They're all scrounges, they are.
fucking, what if it's for work? Like, what if it's his work laptop? He's not paid very well and he's struggling. He's only on part-time and he really needs a full-time job because he has to pay child support and he doesn't really, he really doesn't have enough money, but he still needs this laptop to do his job, so he's got to keep it. He has a house. Like, I don't know.
Then again, it is like a little old lady house. Is he supposed to be living in his mum's house or something?
No, it's a single
Oh,
single guy
oh,
living
no.
there. As they say that explicitly. It's just him living there.
Oh, do they? Oh, it's weird because it looks like a little old lady house.
Well, my guess is that he probably bought it from a little old lady.
Or the other explanation is just that was the only location that the.
Quite possibly. So yeah, like we've got. Hang on, I'll play this.
Computer. Because it's not his. Ah, get out!
So yeah,
Just in the chat. Why would a poor have an in the chat? Why would a poor have an iPhone?
it just does feel like the Chris is out of touch section of the story. Oh, reminder now, this is the second time that Carvanista has tried to booby trap and kill the Doctor on screen. We can assume that it happened more off screen because they were also in the middle of an adventure when we started. Twice now, Carvanista has tried to kill the Doctor in a very explicit way. Let's just file that in our brain for later as something to remember. He also, I can't remember what it is. He has a line of dialogue where he like near explicitly says, "I'm here to do evil things and fuck with you." Like, but yeah, the twist is that he's not even a villain. He's actually here to save humans from a disaster. You don't need to worry about that yet. Because it's time for... Oh, we have another scene from the Arctic. That's the Arctic Circle again. Oh no, this is the first Arctic Circle scene, sorry. I'm a bit confused. Then we get a scene where Dan wakes up on the Lupari spaceship and he's in a cage. Then we get the next subplot. This lady called Claire shows up and is like, "Hi, Doctor and Yaz. You haven't met me yet. You haven't met me yet, but I'm gonna meet you. You're gonna meet me in the future." And we're like, brilliant. We've got time for this as well, I guess.
Yeah, that was the main thing that confused my mum. My mum asked me, "Are we supposed to have met Claire before?"
Yeah, I was watching this episode with Mauler, and he asked the same question, I think. Then we get another scene of the TARDIS breaking. Let's just move forward a bit. Then Claire gets attacked by a weeping angel, I guess. And she gets sent back in time. Yeah, there's just a weeping angel there. Just hello, okay, oh, cool. Yeah, we get the. Hang on, I also want to show the chat the fact that it's literally in the middle of the road, directly ahead of her, and she just notices it though. Hang on, let's just play this. It's like in the middle of the road where she is walking to, and she's not like looking behind her or anything. She would have seen this. I'm tired of this trope of like character only notices the thing when the camera cuts to it. was right there the whole time. Anyway, that's not the biggest issue with the episode. So yeah, she gets attacked by the angel and sent back in time.
It's just a mini blink, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a 5-minute blink.
Where she over-explains everything to the audience, like, hugely as well. Like, the angel, like, she closes her eyes and the angel moves. And then she closes her eyes again, the angel moves again. And, like, this whole time she's saying, don't blink. If I move, if I blink, it can move and then it will get nearer me. And I'm like, yeah, I can see the events that are happening on the screen. Wouldn't this be creepier if I wasn't being described to me exactly how the mechanics work? But even I can see how the mechanics work, and also I know what this thing is as well. It's not like new viewers are going to be having. It's like he explains the one thing to new viewers that they really don't need explained.
Yeah, because like, I'm pretty sure that most casual viewers will have seen Blink by this point.
She
I
has.
can't hear you anymore.
Oh, can you not?
Oh.
I was just quiet for a minute. That might have taken you by surprise.
Yeah, that did take me by surprise. Are you all right, Jay?
I'm okay. I was just reading a little bit of chat. Someone says, Jay, they have super speed and she wasn't looking at it directly. That's the only monster where this trope makes sense. I see where you're coming from, but like, do they rush that fast just randomly? Is that? I guess that does make more sense than it could. Anyway, I forgot we're not just watching the episode. I could have absentmindedly played it then and got the stream taken down.
Why it's here, I've no idea though.
Yeah, we have no idea why it's here, who this is, why any of this happened, and it's also her only 2 scenes in the episode. As she's like, "Hi, Doctor, I know who you are. Also, I'm gonna go get attacked by a Weeping Angel on my way home."
But they're setting it up and saving it for later.
Yeah, this is set up.
Why should I care that it's being set up? You know, you gotta hook me with something interesting.
Then we cut to our next subplot.
It's just another one.
We cut to our next subplot, Stuart. There's a guy called Vinder in a place called Outpost Rose. I really hope that's the only Rose Tyler reference we get in the season, because quite frankly, we cannot afford to cram Rose Tyler in here as well. I'm sure you agree.
Well, Russell is coming back, so we're going to have enough of Rose in years to come.
Well, I assume that he knows to leave Rose behind now.
Nah, never assume anything.
We've got Vinder. He's
anyway, so Vinder is on Outpost something or other, and he talks to a thing about another thing. Then the scene ends, and then we go to a different place entirely and do something completely different.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of a pun right now, and it's not. It's there's a pun forming in my brain. Does anyone in chat want to form this into a fully formed joke? So where does this guy go to shell out a curry? To the Vindaloo. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, that's something that just came out of my mouth. Anyway, Vinder is here. He's like, nothing ever changes here, which means that something's about to change. And then a space fart appears in the sky and starts eating planets.
This is the thing that the series is named after.
Oh, there's a third Arctic Circle scene. Oh no, this is the second Arctic Circle scene. I was just confused because of how jumbled this episode is. Anyway, the Doctor and Yaz get to the Dogman, the Lupari Carvanista ship. They shut down his defenses because they can do that. And then he reveals to them that he's actually he's got no sinister motivations. He and all the other billions of Lupari ships that are on their way are here to each abduct a single human each, because, you know, you need one massive ship for each individual person. I guess it is explained in that they form like a protective structure, but it does still feel somewhat inefficient. It's like, okay, cool. So yeah, the Lupari, they're on their way to go and pick up a human each from Earth. And that's because the Earth is about to be destroyed by something called the Flux, which is the giant space fart that eats planets. Am I getting that all right?
Yes, you are getting that right.
I have seen this episode twice.
I think you're getting that right. I've seen it once. There was a funny dog man.
There was a funny dog man. I think it should have been a sheep, personally.
He looked like Bungle out of Rainbow.
I've never seen Well, I've seen clips of Rainbow, but not enough to get that reference.
Yeah. You're too young, Jay. He looks like Bungle out of Rainbow if Bungle out of Rainbow was on the cover of a power metal record.
I'm sure he does.
I'm saying old things, but yeah, I couldn't follow it.
So yeah,
But I was entertained. That's just all that's all I can really say about that.
I should credit Mauler. He named it Space Fart, by the way, just because that seems to have taken off in chat. People calling it the Space Fart. That comes directly from Mauler, as you can probably tell if you've watched his videos. That he would absolutely call that the Space Fart. Yeah. So the Doctor and Yaz. The Doctor and Yaz established that the Carvanista, his motivation is actually to go and rescue Dan from the Earth before it gets destroyed. And there's going to be another Lupari paired with every other human on Earth, and each one is going to go and get a human and take them back off planet to protect them from the Flux. So, with that reveal, we remember that just to be clear, Carvanista knows the Doctor, has worked with her before, that's established in episode 3, and also has no hostile intentions, but tried to kill her twice anyway, because we start in the middle of the adventure, and we don't get to see why he's trying to kill her, really. He's just sort of bothered that she's around, I guess. Sure, I guess we can hand-wave that. Fine. Why not? Why not just let's... Because that's... How else would there be a conflict if the characters who actually have motivations that line up completely, perfectly fine, just spoke to each other instead of trying to kill each other? Oh, we wouldn't have one, okay.
Yeah, it's like I don't get Carvanista's motivation in like the first half.
No, well, he doesn't have one. His motivation is to pretend to be a villain until it's actually revealed that he's not one, like the Thajarians in Teams of the Punjab.
He's a member, but he's a member of the Division.
Yes, he is.
And are they the bad ones?
That they're the Time Lord people who go around. At least he helps out the Division, and they're the Time Lords that go around like doing secret Time Lord work, whatever that may be.
They're basically his replacement idea for the Celestial Intervention Agency.
Anyway, they go into the TARDIS through another new door that's appeared in the wall, or actually the floor this time. TARDIS is still breaking. Another subplot. You know what this episode needs? It needs a 2-minute scene of the Sontarans for no reason.
Yeah, like I said earlier, they just show up and go, and we're also here.
They do. That's their involvement. Because the reveal of them, honestly, in the next episode would have worked way better as well if the scene wasn't here to reveal them early.
So would I haven't seen the Weeping Angel episode yet, but stuff.
But what?
I haven't seen the Weeping Angel stuff, the Weeping Angel episode yet, because obviously Flux Chapter 4 hasn't been aired yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Weeping Angel stuff would have been better if we hadn't seen them yet as well.
Quite possibly. Hey, it's written by Chris Chibnall and Maxine Alderton, so maybe it will be an improvement.
Maybe. I mean, the last one they did together was...
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't involved in that. That was just her.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. So yeah, but hang on. What's this bit? Oh, this is the bit. This is the bit where she explains to the audience.
Yeah. So do you want to summarize this bit?
It's a big space fart that eats the universe.
It is a big space fart that eats the universe.
And then she says, The end of the universe. I always wondered what it would feel like.
That's the cliffhanger. That hasn't happened yet, I don't think.
Oh, isn't it? Is that so what does she say when she first sees the space flux
So
then?
before she's like, oh, it's the big flux. Then she talks to Skullface Man. Then Dai, the lady that Dan was talking to at the beginning of the episode, gets kidnapped by something, by the Skull people. Then the TARDIS gets chased by the flux. Then the Lupari all arrive in their billions of ships and they protect the entire Earth from the flux, I guess. And then we get a cut to like some of the many subplots that have happened in the episode, and then the episode ends.
Yeah, and as I said, with the Doctor going, end of the universe, I wonder what it would feel like. And I just thought at that point, isn't this like your 80 billionth end of the universe, Doctor?
Yes. But
She
also...
she does that every fucking year.
It's just... What a incoherent mess, I guess. That was the Halloween apocalypse. It was bad in like every conceivable way a thing can be bad.
And I have no standards anymore. That's why as I say, I'm just ultimately done with complaining.
That's very fair, and I understand.
About Doctor Who, it's not going to change. It's just going to throw. It's
going to change.
Like big. Is it though?
It's going to be different writers. Dialogue's going to change. Characters are going to change.
Dialogue's going to change. It's going to be less directly like. But that's the thing. That's the thing with the dialogue. So on the nose, and it has to explain everything. Any idea what the fuck it's talking about?
Can you repeat that? You cut out.
No, I was just saying the dialogue has.
You cut out again.
Try and explain it. Bleh. The dialogue has to be on the nose, and it has to directly explain everything to the audience because no one can figure out what the fuck's going on half the time.
But it doesn't, because like half of the time when the dialogue is overt and over explains everything, it's something that you didn't even need explained to you, like the fact that the Weeping Angel can only move when you can't see it, when they've explicitly shown on screen that that's what's happening, and also the Weeping Angel is a concept that most of us watching this are already familiar with. It's like the dialogue that is overt and stupidly obvious and over-explains everything doesn't even need to be there. It's just, it thinks you're extra dumb.
Yeah, it's like when the Weeping Angels first got introduced in Blink. I don't think that there was. I don't think there was any dialogue explaining how they work. I think the angels just she sees it and then she looks away, then she looks back and it's gone.
Yeah, sort of. Anyway, Stuart, do you have any closing thoughts on the Halloween apocalypse?
It looked pretty.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. There were like continuity errors everywhere and like bad effects, and the Samtara makeup wasn't very good. I thought you could see like the gaps in between the prosthetics in their eyes. But by the way,
they look like big potatoes. Yeah.
People watching live, I'm talking to you. Don't leave. I'm about to say goodbye, but that's to the people watching in the archive, because we've done the first episode now. We're gonna do the second in a different video, but the same stream. That's how this works. Goodbye, people watching on the archive. Stuart, say goodbye to the people from the future.
Bye-bye, people from the future, or hello, depending on how this. I don't know. My brain melted.
We haven't met you yet, but we will. And now I get attacked by an angel. Anyway. Bye.